popularity and originality should never be considered the same thing. Throughout history, the person who made something popular didn't always invent it. For instance, Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb, Marconi didn't invent the radio, and Molyneux didn't invent talking nonsense. So, with legendary innovations as those being wrongly accredited, you can sure as hell be certain some well-known video games aren't exactly original either. So, this episode, we take a look at these fashionable facsimiles, these recognised replications, and these elevated effigies. As I say, but hello you, I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt. 5 legendary games that weren't exactly original. When it comes to the world of modern video games, Minecraft has over the years continued to become many youngsters' first truly addictive gaming experience. Created by Marcus Pearson in the Java programming language, Minecraft is often considered one of the most original and imaginative titles released this side of the millennium. Exploring a blocky, procedurally generated 3D world with infinite terrain, Minecraft allows the player to extract raw materials, craft tools, and build structures or earthworks. It's essentially virtual Lego, except with a random green arsehole randomly blowing up your hard work. The man behind this madness, Marcus Pearson, known as Notch, won multiple awards for the game and established relationships with a number of industry figureheads. In fact, Minecraft will become such a lucrative IP that in 2014 it will be purchased by Microsoft for $2.5 billion US. That's almost as much as what scalpers charge for an Xbox Series X. And that reference is totally not going to age severely. Even as recently as September of 2019, The Guardian classified Minecraft as the best video game of the first 2 decades of the 21st century. Polygon described Minecraft as the most important game of the decade, and Forbes even stated that it's, without a doubt, one of the most important games ever made. And in 2020, Minecraft was even inducted into the World Video Games Hall of Fame. So, with all of this commercial and critical success and other accolades to its name, was Minecraft the first game to look and play like this? Of course not, no! Otherwise I would not be talking about it in this video, would I? Many years before YouTubers were posting photos of them having a stroke in their thumbnails to fake excitement for additional clicks, we had Infiniminer, an open source multiplayer block-based sandbox building and digging game, in which the player plays as a miner, obviously, searching for minerals by carving tunnels through procedurally generated maps and building structures. While the game received regular updates between April to May 2009, sadly for Zachtronics, the developers behind this game, the source code for Infiniminer was leaked less than 1 month after the game had been made available to the public. Zachary Barth, the gentleman behind Infiniminer, would, as a result, lose interest in the game he had made for free, citing that ongoing development had become too difficult. While Barth sadly made no money from this innovative concept, one man, on the other hand, did. Notch, aka the ultimate opportunist, discovered Infiniminer and, in his own words, decided it was a game I wanted to do. So Marcus would copy the visuals and mechanics of procedural generation and terrain deformation of Infiniminer and have them drawn for Minecraft. So, whilst Minecraft is a franchise that is worth billions, the title wouldn't even exist if Notch had not been so forthcoming in his blatant and proud plagiarism of Infiniminer. It really is a well done rip-off. Back in 1989, many gamers experienced a fun little game known as Buster Brothers. This arcade title, developed by the Mitchell Corporation, amused players by offering the massacring of balloons, hell-bent on world domination, I think. The game would become well known as Pang later on, when it was released on pretty much every platform under the sun. Even the GX4000. Yeah. Buster Brothers, Pang, ended up becoming a huge cash cow for Mitchell and would spawn multiple sequels and remixes for decades to come. However, as profitable as the game was, this game was not an original concept. The game was more a blatant rip-off of an MSX game released in 1983 called Cannonball, created by Hudson Soft. And as you can see from this gameplay, the two titles play almost identically, even if Cannonball's graphics are a little more basic. How did Mitchell get away with this, I hear you ask? Well, by seeking permission, of course. Not everyone goes around conducting themselves like Watch Mojo. The Mitchell Corporation have a little bit more class than that. Mitchell identified the potential for Cannonball if given the appropriate marketing and modern polish, so acquired the licensing rights from Hudson Soft to develop a game that played in a more than similar style. This, of course, will result in the birth of Buster Brothers / Pang, a huge commercial success that delivered the same style action as Cannonball, accompanied by some great sprite animation and beautiful backdrops, such as Mount Fuji and Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Despite the gentleman's agreement between Hudson Soft and the Mitchell Corporation, it does leave us though wondering whether afterwards Hudson were kicking themselves not realising the gold they were potentially sitting on. But then again, Hudson ended up selling themselves to Konami of all people. So that's how clued up they were with business acumen. Long before Ryu and Ken's sequel domination in arcades, we had Karate Champ. Seen in this arcade flyer here, depicting Ken uppercutting a giant woman's decapitated head while being kicked in the nuts. This 1984 coin-up martial arts affair pretty much both established and popularised the one-on-one fighting genre, a blueprint that is largely followed even to this day. If you grew up gaming on home computers, however, you're probably familiar with a similar title known as World Karate Championship, which played almost identically to Karate Champ. Both games consisted of matches between two opponents, combatants wearing white and red, referees looking the same, similar special moves, and scoring mechanisms in both games being based on increments. Now, bearing all of these similarities in mind, it was pretty much granted that Data East would go on to sue World Karate Championship's developer, Epix. The court ruled in Data East's favour, noting that Epix infringed on Data East's copyright due to the qualitative similarities in the appearance of the games. The fallout of this would lead to all copies of World Karate Championship being recalled and destroyed. However, this was not the end of this legal spat. No siree. The case would be later appealed by Epix on the ground that they felt that Data East could not provide any evidence that they directly copied Karate Champ. Their legal team stating that Epix had no access to any of Data East's copyrighted work. The court would reverse the decision, ruling in Epix's favour, ruling that no substantial similarity of expression could be found in World Karate Championship, as similarities in the game were judged by the court to encompass the idea of karate, and not necessarily follow the idea of a karate video game. In other words, since both titles were based on karate, Data East couldn't claim they owned the concept rights. Ultimately, Epix appealing the court's decision helped the gaming industry in general. Without their victory, Data East could have had sole custody on the one-on-one fighting genre. So no Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Soul Calibur, Street Fighter 2, or even the legendary Human Killing Machine. No matter where you are in the world, it'll be hard not to have noticed the existence of Angry Birds. The premise of flinging birds at fortified green gammon was impossible to miss. Being downloaded a whopping 3 billion times, Angry Birds quickly became a powerhouse, and these eye-catching creatures created by Finnish company Rovio Entertainment had well-placed merchandise in just about every corner of the globe. In fact, this simple, almost rudimentary mobile app would prove so successful that it has now spawned multiple feature-length movies. But despite becoming the most downloaded freemium game in history, was the gameplay in this well-positioned product either new or even innovative? Well, obviously not. No. Nope, Angry Birds was an unashamed rip-off of a previous title known as Crush the Castle, a physics flash game developed by Armour Games back in 2009, notable for its unique flinging mechanic of firing boulders at various castle-like structures. Critics loved this simple pick-up-and-play experience, with IGN calling the title surprisingly deep and fun for such a simple premise. Gamasutra even listed it as being one of the best free-to-play games of 2009. But the simple gameplay of Crush the Castle caught the eye of Finnish developers Rovio Entertainment, who would switch their trebuchet out for a slingshot, the castle inhabitants out for green pigs, and the boulders for perturbed passerines, thus creating the juggernaut that is Angry Birds. Has Rovio ever admitted to copying Crush the Castle? Well, according to Joey Betts, the creator of Crush the Castle, in a Reddit AMA, he had heard that the original premise for Angry Birds wasn't working for Rovio, but after playing the Flash version of Crush the Castle, decided at the last minute to change the gameplay. So Rovio took the fun, addictive gameplay of Crush the Castle, slap a more marketable license on the concept, and boom! Created one of the most profitable video games in history. And there's me making quips about bullshit developers for a living. Maybe I'm in the wrong business here. From one mobile game to another. Zuma, a simple tile matching puzzler from PopCap that proved popular with the casual market for its simple, addictive nature. The basic gameplay on display here features the objective of eliminating all of the balls rolling around the screen along a given track. The player can carry 2 balls at a time and can switch whenever they wish, but as soon as one ball reaches a skull, the rest follows and the player loses a life. Sort of like an anti-Mr. Bucket, if you will. When a player successfully manages to make 3 or more of the same colour ball come in contact, they explode, possibly triggering other explosions as part of a chain reaction. Like Puzzle Bobble and other games in this ilk, the primary goal is to eliminate all the balls on the screen. However, it's the rows of balls stuck on rails though that make this game stand out from most. And when I say most, it's because Zuma bears a strikingly similar resemblance to a 1998 Japanese arcade game by the name of Puzzloop, developed by the Mitchell Corporation. You know, the guys we spoke about in the Pang segment earlier. The Mitchell Corporation would obviously take note of this, stating that Zuma infringed on their intellectual property. In response to said allegations, PopCap would pop back at them and assert that Zuma was not an exact clone, with PopCap founder Jason Kapowka stating that he was happy with the idea of games being cloned by other developers, so long as the new version added to the gameplay of the game it had copied. So, not only did he essentially admit that the game was just a clone, but he was also damn proud of the alleged plagiarism too. Oh, the cheek of it! Hello you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes. Click on the bell if you already are to make sure you're notified, and be sure to check out my other episodes. And if you want to be super awesome, check out my Patreon. But thanks again for watching, and I'll be seeing you next time. Ta-ra for now.